Hey guys, I'm Marcus, and in this video I'm gonna show you how I shot a customer case story for a client a few months ago. So let's dive into it. This particular assignment I actually got thanks to another client of mine that recommended me for this new client. So we started off by having a few different Google Meets where we discussed the assignment, the script, the different scenes we were gonna shoot and so on. And the assignment here was to create a case story based on a project that they had done for their client where they built a new intranet. So this was actually filmed at the office of my client's client, so to speak. And these type of customer case story videos are pretty common within marketing because it's always nice to hear from an actual client talking about a real life project, sort of. And a tip here is that the better you plan a shoot like this together with your client, the easier it gets for you as a videographer to deliver what the client wants. So don't be afraid to go into specifics and details. I mean, make a shot list step by step and also estimate how long each different part of the shoot is going to take. Because again, the better you plan, the better the shoot will go. So I'm gonna walk you through the day of the shoot, how we filmed it, and the gear I used for the different parts and so on. One thing that is actually pretty common when shooting on location is that the client, or the client's client in this case, has chosen a location where you're supposed to shoot the talking head scenes, and 9 times out of 10 they pick some kind of a conference room or something similar. And this environment is usually pretty boring. You don't have very much depth to create a nice blurry background. The walls and environment overall is usually pretty plain. And in these cases, you might not have a choice. Sometimes it's what you have to work with, but you might also have a choice sometimes. Most of the times, the client doesn't really know what you as a videographer are looking for. But then you have to tell the client and try to explain that the end result is gonna look so much better if we have like a bigger space to shoot in with a more interesting environment and background compared to these plain walls in the conference room. So what me and my client did in this case, because he was present during the entire shoot, was that we checked out the rest of the building and we found that the lunchroom or the coffee break area sort of was much nicer. So we simply moved the gear we needed to that location instead. But one tricky thing about this new location was that we had a variety of different light sources with both light bulbs, my aperture light, and natural light from the large windows. And the natural light varied a bit also, depending on if it was sunny or cloudy outside. And also these different light sources have different color temperatures, of course. So I knew that I was gonna have to make some masking and color correction afterwards, but it was well worth it because this new location looked so much nicer. And another tricky thing was that the woman in the talking head scenes had very bright platinum blonde hair, and the clothes and the furniture and walls in the background were pretty dark. So the result here, when I set the exposure to her skin tones, was that I overexposed her hair a little bit. But luckily with the Canon C70 you get a very wide dynamic range. So I was able to bring the highlights down in post, and I'm gonna show you this later in this video. For the B-roll parts, the most fun to shoot as usual, we wanted to create kind of an organic look and feel of this video. We did not want only perfectly smooth scenes with little to no movement. I mean, those kind of scenes are useful as well, but only those type of B-roll scenes can become pretty boring to watch actually. So therefore I used a few different setups. We shot handheld footage with the C70 and the RF28-70. I also used this same camera and lens setup but on a tripod, so that was the second setup. We shot some moving scenes where I used a gimbal with the Canon R5 and the RF15-35. And then we also filmed some drone shots outside using the DJI Mavic 3 Cine. So how do you tell a B-roll story in a video that's about a corporate intranet project? Well, my idea here was basically to follow 3 persons at work on a day at the office. So we started out by filming them when they entered the office, and then we shot a few different scenes on different locations in the office where they were working in front of their computers, taking a coffee break, just talking and laughing, having meetings, having a lunch break outside and so on. And then I just mixed these B-roll clips in with the talking head scenes so that we have sort of an A-roll talking head story that focuses on this project. And then we have a B-roll story that's basically a day at the office. That was my overall idea, both when shooting and editing. And these are the different camera setups I used. On the C70, I have mounted a Tilta cage, and you can check out a YouTube short here if you want, where I mount this cage from scratch. I have a top handle from SmallRig, a side handle on the left side, which actually is a top handle as well, but I put it on the left side here. We also have the Atomos Shinobi 5-inch screen at the top, connected with an HDMI cable from Cine. And this setup works pretty well to shoot B-roll where you want that organic look and feel I was talking about. Of course, you cannot have too much handshake, but a little bit of handshake creates this documentary and natural look, I think. And with the neck strap and the built-in hand strap, love that by the way, I get 3 points of contact here, which makes it possible to create shots with just the right amount of handshake, since the C70 does not have IBIS and neither does the RF28-70. And another nice thing with this specific build is that I can switch between handheld and tripod very quickly, since I got the Sachtler Active 8T, where the T stands for touch and go. And I'm very happy that I chose to go with the T version of this tripod, because the touch and go feature is super useful on a project like this where I'm switching a lot between tripod and handheld. And here we have the R5 mounted on the Xeon, however you pronounce it, Xeon Crane 3 Lab gimbal. This lens I have on is the RF 15-35, and that's what I usually have on when I shoot gimbal clips. And as you can see, I have no external recorder, no battery grip, just stripped down version of the camera here, because here I want to save as much weight as possible. But I also want the possibility to zoom in and out a little bit if I need. Of course, I have to set the focal length before I start to shoot, since I have no possibility to zoom during shooting, but it's nice to have that flexibility, I think. But it all depends on what kind of scene I'm gonna shoot. Let's say that I want to do a barrel roll, for example, then I'm better off using a 50mm prime, because the weight of the camera when spinning the entire gimbal is a pretty big issue there, of course. But for most gimbal clips, the 15-35 with the R5 or the R6 is my go-to setup. So just to demonstrate, I will show you a few different B-roll clips with some graphics displaying the gear I used for each clip, so that you can see how we try to mix a variety of different kind of B-roll clips in the editing. And speaking of editing, I'm not gonna go into details on each and every clip here, but I will show you what I was talking about with the overexposed hair in the talking head clips. So here is one of the clips straight out of camera. This was shot in C-Log 2 on the Canon C70 with the RF 28-70. And let's see what happens here if I apply the standard Rec 709 LUT. As you can see, the highlights in the hair are pretty blown, and like I mentioned, this location had a few challenges. But let's take a look at how this can be saved, thanks to the great dynamic range of this camera. So first off, I wanted to rescue the highlights in the hair, so I added another lumetri color effect here and added a mask with a suitable amount of feather to make it blend in. And then I just simply pulled down the highlights on this effect, and this would not have been possible if this was shot in, for example, 8-bit color depth. So really nice dynamic range from the C70. And the same thing goes for color correcting the background, which had a lot of light from the light bulbs, of course, making it more yellow than the light from outside and the light from the 300D. So a mask was needed here as well, of course, and also some tracking on some of these talking head clips depending on if the woman was moving or standing still. But overall, this is how I worked with the color correction of the talking head clips. So that's it for this video. I really hope you found it useful. If you did and you like these kind of videos from real assignments for paying clients, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, stay safe, bye!